Alright guys, so this is juggling video lesson number 2. So those of you that want to try this at home, students, parents, this is a good juggling lesson to give it a shot, and I think a lot of you might have the equipment you need. But I always said, you know, in the first video would be to use the scarves, which look like this because they float. And you ball them up, and if you looked at my first video you would see that. The second step would be to use bean bags if you have them, little hand bean bags. Even those cornhole bean bags would work to do the next step. But then the third thing, if you don't have any of that, you can start with tennis balls like I did. And again, my grandpa taught me how to juggle. He was a real good juggler. He taught me how to do it when I was about 11 or 12, and again, it took me, you know, a whole weekend. I worked on juggling, you know, a few hours a day, probably a good 6 to 7 hours to really get the repetition. The key to juggling is once you get it at first, you just have to repeat it, all right? Because you're gonna mess up a lot. Always be ready. You'll mess up a lot, all right? But then eventually it'll start to click, but it takes time. So I'm going to go through a few steps with juggling here with the tennis balls. This is lesson number 2, and I'll show you the way to start. And you got to know what your hands are doing, right hand, left hand. The first thing you want to do is start with 2 balls, okay, 1 in each hand. And don't go on to the next step. As I go through these steps, don't go on to the next step until you feel comfortable with the previous step. And so what you're going to do here is you want to toss the ball slightly above head level. So even just starting like this, tossing it pretty high, just about a foot above head level with both hands. This would be your first step. And learning to catch it just like this. This would be the first step in knowing that you got to toss the ball at that level, because if you toss lower, you're not going to have reaction time to catch it, and if you toss too high, you're going to be going way left and right and chasing the ball and whatnot. So it does take practice, but get your height level first. It'll be easy at first, but then as you go into the next steps, like step 2, which I'm about to do, it'll just be easier once you master that height level. So step number 2, after getting at the proper height, now you want to do the cross motion, which is I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to toss it same height in a crossways right above my left hand here. Let me back up so you can see that. And then as that ball tosses, I'm going to come right underneath with this hand and do the same thing. So it's going to be toss, toss, catch, catch, toss, toss, catch, catch. And look at that, I messed up on the first try. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Toss, toss, catch, catch. This is step 2. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Toss, toss, catch, catch. And you, again, the key is to repeat it until you get comfortable. The one thing that will happen is, in this step, your weak hand will have the tendency to either toss the ball really low at first, so you want to concentrate on that height, or you might have the tendency to kind of throw it way off to the side, all right, and that's what you want to get under control. Toss, toss, catch, catch. And again, it's taking step 1, which is height, level of height, and number 2, which is crossing it to the other hand. Toss, toss, catch, catch, just like that. And then, once you've mastered that, it's step number 3, which you're going to take the third ball, and this is where it will get considerably difficult, but you got to practice. You got to stay with it. You will mess up, guaranteed. But if you stay with it, like I said, it took me hours and hours at first. But if you stay with it, you will get it. Anybody can get it, okay? So the third step is to take all 3 balls, and I don't know if the video has it backwards. This is actually my right hand with 2 balls. I take the 2 balls in your strong hand, and the way I hold it is like so. I hold the ball on the top with thumb and index finger, middle finger, and the other one down low. because you always start to juggle with the hand that has 2 balls in it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go toss, toss, toss. Okay, but that's going to involve some catches. So it's going to be actually toss. It's going to be 3 tosses and 3 catches. Toss, toss, toss. Now what's happening is I catch the first one, then I'll be tossing that third one. So it's going to look like this, and I might mess up at first because I'm not used to breaking it down this much, but it's going to be toss, 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 and you see the 3 catches. Toss, 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 and you see the catches. Again, toss, toss, toss. And just, it's 3. The rule is 3. This is step 3, so it's 3 throws and 3 catches. This will be difficult at first, okay, because you're getting your opposite hand involved. So it's toss, toss, toss. And again, it's taking step 1, which is tossing it at the proper height. Step 2, which is learning to cross it over on each one, almost like an X. You want an X formation. And then you're just doing that. And you just want to master that to where you get comfortable with making 3 tosses and 3 catches. If you get good enough, start with the opposite hand. Toss, 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 and then catch, okay? Take your time on these steps. They're easy to understand, they're difficult to do, but take your time to get it right. Practice, 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 practice. And then the final step to actually learning to juggle, and this will take, again, maybe hours of practice, is to make the continuous motion. You're gonna do the same thing on this final step, which is toss, toss, but you're just learning to continue the motion. It doesn't stop, okay? So you're gonna just toss, 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 and you're just constant, okay? And I'm throwing a little lower, so I wanna get a little bit higher. When you're first learning, toss them, above head level. And I think you're gonna be able to see this on the screen. Back up just a little bit, toss, toss, toss. And if you watch my hands, they're going to be making a circular motion because it's catching on the outside and then tossing in that diagonal motion. If you notice, my hands are constantly doing this. It's catching on this side and tossing on this side, on the inside. So it's boom, 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 boom. And this is the motion. Now you see my hands going in a circular motion. Okay? And this is the key, is tossing at the proper height, because here is where your opposite hand wants to toss it kind of funky, too high, too low. Practice, 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 practice. That's how juggling is done. In my 3rd video, I'm going to show you how to do a trick. This will be my 3rd video for juggling today, and I will have more later, but practice this. It's a lot of fun once you get the hang of it, but it takes practice. But these are the steps to juggling with tennis balls. Best of luck to you. Again, students, I might give you a chance to do this at times during the PE class. All right, bye-bye.